Tales of Herding Gods, chapter 495, chapter. Beneath the sheer cliff face, two ancient doors stood ajar, each opening into a different realm, each bound by its own unyielding restraints, as though heaven and earth themselves had drawn an unseen line between worlds. This was not the first time these two figures had crossed paths, nor their first clash. Their blades and wills had once collided in the twilight years of the High Emperor era, when that age teetered on the brink of burial beneath the sands of time. Thereafter their battles did not cease. Again and again they fought, yet by then the world had already turned into the founding emperor era, and the tides of history had shifted. At this very mountain cliff they had fought countless times, yet neither of them stood here in flesh and blood. Both had long since departed this desolate world. What remained were but their apparitions, shadows of their true selves. Their cultivation had soared too high, their power too vast. Without the alignment of fate and opportunity, their true bodies could not step into this realm. This was a land where life had long perished. No living thing could endure here. This was the great ruins of the High Emperor era, a wasteland even harsher than the great ruins of the founding emperor era. In the founding emperor era's ruins, at least stone statues of gods still stood vigil, offering fragile protection so that life might persist in scattered corners. But here there was only an endless desert. When night fell and darkness descended like a devouring beast, there was nowhere to hide, nowhere to flee. Life had vanished 30 to 40,000 years ago. Only gods had once remained. Yet even those gods, in the early years of the founding emperor era, had departed one after another, abandoning this forsaken land to seek refuge in other worlds. The two figures now confronting each other were the final gods to leave. Woman of the Bai family from 40,000 years past, the one-armed god spoke, his towering form like a blade carved from heaven itself. Behind him, the long sabre slung across his back began to hum, its will trembling through the void, as if it could pierce time and space and sever another world entirely. He sneered coldly. "Have you come to seek the one who left behind those writings?" A sharp glint flashed in his eyes. "So you too have received word that he has come into being. I always knew there was something amiss with your sword path. Your swordsmanship surpassed the High Emperor era, even the founding emperor era. Yet I never imagined that you were connected to the heavenly devil cult master." Within the divine radiance beneath the cliff, the woman's form trembled slightly. Joy surged through her heart like spring water breaking through ice, utterly ignoring the hostility before her. "He truly came?" Her voice quivered faintly, like a sword humming in delight. "The one who traversed time, has he truly appeared in this world? You cannot stop me." The one-armed god roared from within the stone gate, his arrogance reaching the heavens. "I will kill him, and you intend to bar my path. We have fought for countless years, yet all of it ended in nothing. Neither of us could suppress the other." His gaze burned with cold fury. "I left this arm severed, never restoring it, for this very day. To cross blades with him once more, to avenge the humiliation of my path, to repay the hatred of that severed limb. If I cannot shatter his sword path with my blade, how can I ever stand tall? How can my saber path advance even a single step?" His voice grew heavier with each word. "For this moment, I have waited nearly 40,000 years!" Bathed in divine light, the woman stepped forward, her figure emerging from the brilliance and descending onto the desert below. She was but an apparition, yet her presence was as tranquil as an unmoving mountain. "Words are meaningless," she said softly, her tone calm as still water. "If you cannot step into this world, nothing you say matters." The one-armed god turned sharply. His blood-red cloak billowed, spreading outward to envelop the entire stone door like a storm of crimson clouds. Then, where the cloak rippled, a blade of light tore through existence itself. A single slash. The sabre will surged boundlessly, terrifying beyond measure, cleaving open the barrier between the two worlds as if it were mere paper. The sound of the blade rang like thunder. From the stone door, sabre light burst forth, sending two towering waves of sand roaring into the sky. At the centre, the earth split, forming a chasm that rose 3,000 yards high and stretched for hundreds of miles. Yet just as the one-armed god attempted to step through, an unseen force of heaven and earth surged forth, rebounding him violently. The young woman turned, her figure retreating back into the divine radiance, her voice drifting faintly as she vanished into the cliff. With your strength, your true body will never pass through. Abandon this thought. The one-armed god withdrew his blade, his expression dark as he turned away. The stone door behind him began to crumble inch by inch. I will return, his voice echoed coldly. A mere world barrier is nothing to me. High above, the dragon Qilin bore Qinmu and the chest through the clouds. Moments ago, it had still been broad daylight. Yet the instant they passed through the cloud layer, the heavens plunged into boundless darkness. The roar of cascading water echoed through the night like the roar of an ancient beast. Qinmu turned toward the sound. Through the darkness, scattered glimmers of light shimmered upon the shattered cliff. They had returned to the great ruins, to the source of the surging river. Before them stretched the same heavenly moat, running from east to west across the great ruins and the towering cliff that divided the land into two halves. This was the origin of the surging river. Waterfalls cascaded endlessly from the cliff above, yet their true source remained a mystery. The waters of the surging river, perhaps they originate from other worlds, Qinmu mused, his thoughts flowing like the river itself. And perhaps they pass into other realms through hidden cracks. There must be another story hidden here. His gaze fixed upon the broken cliff, and suddenly his heart skipped a beat. At the crack in the cliff stood a figure, headless. Xing'an! A chill shot through Qinmu's spine, every hair on his body standing on end. Xing'an was guarding the entrance to the world they had just departed, lying in wait for him to walk straight into his grasp. That yellow desert world was a realm devoid of life, a dead world in every sense. And yet that madman had severed his own head, leaving behind his headless body to stand guard. As for his head and his eyes, they were likely still drifting through that barren desert, searching for their prey. The dragon Qilin noticed as well and descended silently. The chest beneath them emitted a faint glow, pushing back the encroaching darkness and shielding them. When they reached the ground, Qinmu slid down quietly, keeping his body low. The dragon Qilin shrank his form to the smallest size possible and climbed onto the chest. Qinmu followed, and the chest began to move, its steps wide yet controlled, approaching the river with utmost caution. This stretch of river marked the source of the surging river. The riverbed here was narrow, and the current was gentle, not yet the raging torrent downstream. The chest stepped into the water, its limbs moving softly as it drifted along, silently swimming downstream. Qinmu exhaled slowly in relief. Xing'an had left his head behind, losing his ability to perceive his surroundings. Without sight or hearing, the chances of detection were minimal. Once they created enough distance, the odds of being found would diminish greatly. Then, thump, the chest struck a submerged reef. The sound was faint, yet in the deathly silence of night it rang out like a thunderclap. They were still too close to the waterfall. Too close to Xing'an. Qinmu turned his head. The headless figure at the cliff remained unmoving. His heartbeat steadied and a faint smile touched his lips. I've been too cautious. Without his head, Xing'an cannot see or hear. Even if we walked right before him, he would not notice. The dragon Qilin also relaxed, letting out a breath. The waterfall is so loud, there's no need to worry he'll hear us. Cult Master? Qinmu's expression changed abruptly. At the crack in the cliff, the headless body turned. From the severed neck, 2 ears had sprouted, one on each side, grotesque and unnatural. His divine body radiated light, illuminating the darkness like a blazing star. Xing'an had cut off his ears and planted them upon his neck. The ears trembled in the wind, expanding rapidly, growing larger than even the ears of Roland's golden elephant. Qinmu made his decision instantly, transmitting his voice with divine consciousness. Run! Leave the water! Head for the shore! The chest was far slower in water than on land. In this darkness, they relied on it for protection, but now that Xing'an had heard them, speed was life. Though moving onto land would create noise, remaining in the water meant certain death. At the cliff's crack, the headless body leapt into the air, lunging directly toward them. At the same time, an eyeball came flying from the crack, halting mid-air. Divine light burst forth, illuminating the surroundings as it surveyed the terrain. A pillar of light descended from the eye, sweeping across 7 hectares as it advanced. Damn! Chinmu's blood turned cold. The chest could repel darkness, but its speed was limited, and in water even more so, yet abandoning it was not an option. Thump! Xing'an's headless body landed upon the river not far away. He tilted the ears on his neck, standing perfectly still as they expanded even further. Then the beam of light from the sky descended, illuminating his body before sweeping forward and falling upon Chinmu and the dragon chillin atop the chest. Chinmu smiled. The chest beneath his feet froze in place. With a calm voice, Chinmu spoke. "Brother Xing'an, if I help you resolve the hidden flaws within your body, would you spare my life?" The ears upon Xing'an's neck flapped violently. The floating eye surged closer. "Your shamelessness truly astounds me, and yet you still dare bring this up?" From the darkness behind him, a head flew forth, settling upon his neck. The severed ears returned to their proper places, sealing into his skull. Another eye arrived, but instead of returning to its socket, it hovered above Chinmu, watching him intently. Xing'an lifted his chin, his voice icy. "My answer is no. Divine Physician Qin is far too cunning. In a single moment of carelessness, you even stole my chest. If I allow you to treat me, you might very well steal my life as well." He stepped forward slightly. "Only by turning you into a corpse can I rest at ease." Mist rose from the river, dense and rolling, engulfing the surroundings. Chinmu glanced at the thickening fog, his heart stirring slightly. Yet he smiled. "Brother Xing'an, you are too wary. In truth, you are not evil, merely too obsessed with immortality." You have not visited Eternal Peace recently, have you? I have already repaired the Divine Bridge and established its spatial algebra model." His voice carried a hint of pride. "As long as you cultivate it, you can fully restore your Divine Bridge. In Eternal Peace Empire, everyone knows this, except you, who still clings to extending your life with borrowed limbs." Xing'an paused, momentarily stunned. Then he sneered. "You lie. If you truly possessed such a technique, why would you share it? As the Heavenly Devil cult master, you would keep it within your sect, strengthening your followers. And Grandmaster stayed with me for days. Why did he not mention it?" Chinmu laughed. "Grandmaster wished to use your hand to eliminate me, and perhaps let you and Shaman God Kai suffer along the way. Why would he inform you?" He continued, his voice calm. "As for keeping it to myself, you underestimate my breadth of mind. If you seek immortality, you need not rely on stolen flesh. Learn my 3 techniques: Secrets of Magpie Bridge, Secrets of Mysterious Guide, and Secrets of Divine Crossing. Once your divine bridge forms, you can cross into the Celestial Palace and become an undying god." He added, "In fact, someone has already surpassed you. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor has become a god." The fog thickened further, swallowing them both. Yet Xing'an's eyes remained above, closing in, piercing through the mist with unwavering clarity. From within the fog, Xing'an's voice echoed, "You are indeed remarkable. I underestimated you." A pause. "However, you underestimate me." His tone turned cold. "I do not seize others' body parts merely for immortality. My goal is to become a true god. I will kill whom I must. I will take what I need. Your Divine Bridge model is useful to me, so I thank you. But since you have already shared it with the world—" A killing intent surged. Chinmu's eyes flashed with light. His body sank instantly into the ground as his vital chi erupted, transforming into countless runes that enveloped him, the dragon Qilin, and the chest. "What use is there in leaving you alive?" Blinding light burst from Xing'an's eyes, slicing through the runes surrounding Chinmu. Yet Chinmu only smiled. He drew his blades and unleashed them in a storm of strikes. Each blade carved through space itself, and every rune shattered by compression flared back to life anew. Blade light surged from all directions, forcing even Xing'an to exclaim in admiration, "Your skills are not inferior to mine in the past." His body lunged forward, but just as he was about to strike, the world spun violently. Xing'an's expression changed instantly. "Damn!" Swoosh! His 2 eyes vanished. Without them, his vision dissolved into a chaotic whirl of spinning space. "Werg!" He retched, forcing his primordial spirit to suppress the disorientation. His body felt as though it was spinning endlessly, though it was merely his perception unraveling. "In the past?" Chinmu laughed loudly. "Xing'an, you are not even worthy to carry my shoes." Runes flared once more. Hearing his voice, Xing'an charged toward him. But the moment he moved, he realized his mistake. Boom! He crashed violently into a cliff dozens of miles away. Without his divine eyes, his sense of direction had vanished completely. Chinmu's vital chi surged again. Runes ignited, and he activated teleportation once more, vanishing alongside the chest and the dragon Qilin. I can send Xing'an's eyes dozens of miles away, but carrying the dragon Qilin and the chest, I can only travel 4 miles at most, Chinmu calculated swiftly. As long as I remain silent, I can slip into the riverbed and escape. But in the midst of teleportation, a thunderous crash erupted. His divine art failed. He slammed directly into a mountain of bones that had appeared from nowhere. Countless skeletons scattered into the sky like a storm of white fragments. Chinmu froze, stunned. A skeleton flailed past him, shouting angrily, "Are you blind or what?" Translator, Atlas Studios. Editor, Atlas Studios. Chinmu, the chest, the dragon Qilin, as well as the countless skeletons and shattered bones that whirled through the firmament, all came plummeting down like fallen stars. A chill seeped into Chinmu's heart, sinking him into despair. He had deliberately suppressed every breath, unwilling to make even the faintest sound, hoping to slip past the ears of Xing'an, that depraved madman. Yet the will of heaven overturned the schemes of mortals. All his careful plans had collapsed into nothingness. Bang, bang, bang! Their bodies slammed heavily into a mound of bleached bones. The skeletons scattered across the surroundings immediately burst into clamour, their hollow voices rising in discord as they quarrelled over whose pelvis had been shattered, whose thigh bone had been broken. Some even clutched at one another's ribs, their shrill cries echoing endlessly. In the next instant, chaos erupted. Certain skeletons leapt into battle, wielding bone clubs that had appeared from nowhere, swinging them wildly as they smashed skull against skull, fragments scattering like rain. Unless Xing'an was utterly deaf, there was no way such an uproar would escape his notice. Chinmu staggered to his feet, his mind clouded as he surveyed the surroundings. The dense fog that had blanketed the land before had thinned considerably, and faint light now seeped through the gloom. He turned his gaze toward the east, and could not help but be stunned. Within the fog of surging river, a vast and indistinct world of bones was rapidly taking shape. It manifested at the heart of the great ruins, overlapping the mortal realm as though 2 worlds were merging into one. "You are stepping on me." A frail voice whimpered from beneath the chest. The chest jolted in alarm, but when it discovered that the speaker was nothing more than a pile of bones, delight surged within it. It snapped open with joy and promptly swallowed the talking skeleton whole. Ever since Chinmu had awakened its spirit, it had developed a peculiar fondness for collecting such bizarre curiosities. "Ghost!" The dragon Qilin's fur and scales bristled, standing on end, his body stiffened like iron. When he beheld the mountain of skeletons before him, this plump creature flipped over and thrust his legs straight into the sky, playing dead on the spot. Seeing this, the chest decided to swallow him as well. Beginning from the tail, it devoured him bit by bit. But just as it reached his hindquarters, the dragon Qilin suddenly kicked and muttered in a low, irritated voice. "Stop fooling around, I'm pretending to be dead. Fengdu, this is the outer world of Fengdu." Chinmu's gaze followed the shifting world as it overlapped reality. Mountains in the real world seemed to vanish into nothingness, replaced by this eerie domain. The sight was profoundly strange. A flicker stirred in his heart. He kicked the dragon Qilin. "Fatty dragon, get up. Your act of playing dead is nowhere near as convincing as Linger's. If you don't rise now, these skeletons will feast on your flesh." "Meat! Meat!" Beneath the dragon Qilin, a skeleton caught the scent of living flesh and grinned. It opened its jaws and clamped onto his leg, biting down eagerly. "Meat! Meat!" Across the sea of bones, countless skeletons erupted into excitement, charging forward in a frenzy. Their surging formed a skeletal tide, towering 300 yards high. Whoosh! The wave of bones crashed down, countless skeletons tumbling together as they fused into a colossal white bone giant. It sprinted forward wildly, driven by insatiable hunger for flesh. "I have no flesh! Give me your flesh! Leave me some skin! Mine has long since rotted away!" The dragon Qilin scrambled upright, smashing apart the skeletons that lunged at him into fragments. Yet at the sight before him, he nearly fainted once more. Radiance erupted around Chinmu as a halo of Buddha light blazed forth. Behind him, the phantom of a white jade Buddha manifested. The charging skeleton giant disintegrated instantly, collapsing into scattered bones as the surrounding skeletons fled in terror. Not tasty. It's that bald little monk from back then. Run. Chinmu fell silent, speechless. He drew out a gold coin and cast its glow into the foggy expanse. There, a lone boat drifted through the mist. All of you scatter! Xing-An's voice thundered from afar. He had already withdrawn his gaze and followed the commotion. As he approached, his aura surged, shattering skeletons that lunged at him and blasting them away with violent force. Consumed by fury, he obliterated an entire skeleton mountain with a single strike, crushing countless bones. His figure surged toward Chinmu, radiating overwhelming arrogance and killing intent. Time and again, Chinmu had thwarted him. The humiliation burned in Xing-An's heart, stoking a rage he could no longer suppress. All he desired now was to erase this troublesome youth who had mocked him repeatedly. Chinmu swiftly invoked his teleportation divine art, sweeping up the chest, still busy collecting bones, and the trembling dragon, Qilin. In a flash, he leapt through space toward the faintly visible lone boat within the fog. You dare use the same trick twice? Come down! One of Xing-An's eyes shot forth, hovering in the air as it emitted chilling radiance. Chinmu's teleportation runes were sliced apart instantly. His figure reappeared in midair, along with the chest and the dragon Qilin, and they began to plummet toward the foggy sea below. Beneath them, monstrous forms churned within the mist, stirred into frenzy. At that critical moment, the lone boat glided forward, positioning itself beneath them and catching them safely. Senior brother Xing-An, I trust you have been well since we last met. The boatman guiding the vessel lifted his bamboo hat, revealing a skeletal visage, his grin sinister. Xing-An, having reached the shore, paused in slight astonishment. Unable to recognize the figure, he asked warily, Who are you? Senior brother Xing-An has already forgotten Taoist Ling Jing. In those days, you hunted me across the lands for my divine blood, yet now you recall nothing of me. How deeply this wounds my heart. The boatman pushed his pole, guiding the vessel farther into the mist. This is the world of Fengdu. You are among the living. Turn back. This is no place for you to tread. Xing-An summoned back his eye and stepped into the sea of fog. Instantly, the mist churned violently as the monsters within stirred in agitation. Though the creatures lurking within were terrifyingly powerful, he showed no fear. Advancing calmly, he pursued the lone boat, his tone indifferent. If the living cannot enter, then why may they board your vessel? Taoist Ling Jing, we are acquaintances. Are we not? Is it fitting for you to deceive me so? His speed was astonishing. Even within this strange and treacherous fog, he moved as if strolling through a garden. The lone boat could not shake him. The distance between them steadily shrank. Do you have money? Taoist Ling Jing asked leisurely. Money makes even ghosts row the boat. That young man paid the fare, so he may board and enter Fengdu. You, however, carry no coin, thus you may only swallow the cold wind. Turn back. Fengdu is not a realm you can intrude upon. There are too many beings here that you cannot afford to offend. Xing-An snorted coldly and pressed onward. Suddenly, a colossal monster surged from the fog and dragged him beneath the surface. On the boat, the dragon Qilin trembled in shock. He hurried to peer over the edge, but Taoist Ling Jing gently pressed his head down with the bamboo pole, smiling. Foolish creature, the horrors below are unreasonable. Be careful lest they bite off your head. Before his words had even faded, the sea of fog erupted violently. Roars of monstrous entities shook the heavens, and the bone mountains within the mist trembled. Those mountains, composed of piled skeletons, transformed into giants and fled in terror. The dragon Qilin immediately lay flat within the boat, covering his eyes with his claws, yet still peeking through the gaps between them. The battle beneath the fog intensified, unleashing towering waves that lifted the lone boat high into the air before casting it down again. Chinmu activated Bright Heaven's eyes, barely discerning the silhouettes of multiple colossal monsters battling Xing-An beneath the surface. His heart trembled violently, and he exhaled slowly. Xing-An is truly formidable. Taoist Ling Jing, now nothing more than a skeleton, pushed his pole and grinned. Naturally, yet here he cannot stir great waves. This sea of fog was born from the grievances of the dead at the end of the founding emperor era. Those who perished could not pass on peacefully, their resentment condensing into monsters that bar all who dare intrude into Fengdu. In those days, countless lives were lost in the Great Ruins, so these creatures possess power comparable to gods. Qin was taken aback. These skeletons are the people who died in that calamity? Why can they not enter Fengdu? Fengdu accepts only useful souls. Faint flames flickered within Taoist Lingjing's eye sockets. They were deemed unworthy to enter Fengdu. One must possess strength comparable to the divine. Even I barely qualified. Thus, these souls can only linger at its outskirts, unable to cross this sea of fog. A strange expression crossed Qinmu's face. If the fog and monsters were born from their own grievances, then it was they themselves who barred their path forward. Truly, karma turned upon itself. King Yama once sought to guide them across, but Fengdu is limited. Moreover, it must also guard against Yudu. Taoist Lingjing clearly held many secrets, yet he chose not to reveal more. He too was a being caught between life and death, existing in a strange state within Fengdu. Qin could not discern whether he was truly alive or dead. If dead, he would regain flesh upon entering the living realm of the dead. If alive, leaving Fengdu would bring instant annihilation. Beneath the fog, the turmoil grew ever more violent. Xing'an's battle with the monsters had reached a terrifying intensity. There was no denying it. Xing'an's strength was monstrous. Even against these resentment-born beings, he could still stand his ground. This madman, Taoist Lingjing cast a glance toward the churning sea, where Xing'an and the monstrous entities surged upward. Their forms towered into the clouds, surpassing even the skeletal mountains and islands. Their power was terrifying, but Xing'an was even more so. Human Emperor Qin, quickly go ashore, Taoist Lingjing said, his vision sharp. He will soon break free. Also, you owe me 4 Fengdu coins. Including this trip, the total comes to 5. Qin produced 4 Fengdu coins, which Taoist Lingjing accepted. Stretching lazily, he smiled. Others have backing and may enjoy comfort upon entering Fengdu, yet I must still toil for coin. Only when I have enough may I enter. To secure a position within Fengdu requires an even greater price. With that, he guided the boat away, vanishing into the sea of fog. His voice lingered behind. Fengdu has interest in living beings like you. Aid the dead and they will reward you with Fengdu gold coins. That is how I once earned my place. Qin quickly led the dragon Qilin and the chest toward Fengdu. Not long after, he arrived before the boundary stone of the living realm of the dead. At the sight of it, he breathed a sigh of relief. At that very moment, a thunderous crash resounded behind him. Xing'an had broken free from the monsters and emerged from the fog, landing upon the shore. Qin expression shifted. Without hesitation, he rushed into the living realm of the dead, moving at full speed. The dragon Qilin also ran frantically, but soon realized something was amiss. His mealmaster had vanished, replaced by a skeleton running beside him. That skeleton wore Qin clothes and shoes. The dragon Qilin's fur bristled as he let out a miserable cry. Then he realized he too had become a skeleton. His limbs weakened, and he collapsed, fainting for real this time. Qin halted, intending to carry him onward, when suddenly Xing'an burst into the boundary of the living realm of the dead. Bang! Another head sprouted from Xing'an's neck. Beneath his arms, additional limbs emerged. 4 more legs grew forth. Qin froze in shock, and Xing'an himself was equally stunned. Then came a series of popping sounds as another body forced its way out from his form. Heads multiplied around his skull, limbs sprouting uncontrollably. Dozens of arms, dozens of legs, 20 to 30 heads, and even entire bodies merged together grotesquely. Thump! Xing'an collapsed to the ground. Numerous arms clawed wildly in every direction, his many heads roaring as though struggling to escape. It was clear that the consciousness governing each limb was different, belonging to separate individuals. 20 to 30 wills battled within him, each desperate to break free. Living realm of the dead, living realm of the dead. Qin abandoned thoughts of escape and murmured, "So this is the key to countering Xing'an." His body was assembled from the parts of 20 to 30 near god-level experts. In this realm, those lost parts are restored. At that moment, a massive bird descended from the darkness, landing atop a nearby mountain. Tilting its head, it examined them curiously. "Is the one who has arrived human or a Qin?" The enormous bird flapped its wings, transforming into a bird-headed deity. Folding its wings, it spoke in human tongue. Your actions have been exposed. King Yama has been searching for you for quite some time. Chinmu was startled. I've done something. Why do I not know of it?